Welcome to How to Build Muscle. This is the truth behind growth, recovery, and results. So, muscles, they don't grow because you pick up a dumbbell or show up to a gym. They grow because of everything that happens after that. So, let's dive into why even bother building muscle in the first place. Now, I believe all of you on this call today are doing a strength training program, but some people who predominantly want to lose fat, which is you guys all anyway, but just in general, aren't super concerned about building muscle. But I want to make a case for it here. So firstly, for overall shape and aesthetics, you look better when you have a bit of muscle. Girls have more shape, more feminine shape. Guys have more masculine shape. Okay, so we're not shying away from what people might deem as vain reasons for building muscle. It's not vain at all. Everyone deserves to look good, defined, and feel confident. Okay? From a practical standpoint, strength and protection. Muscle protects your joints. If you have a bad elbow or a bad knee or a bad ankle, building the muscles around that area are going to protect those joints. So that instead of the bones kind of rubbing off each other or your joints struggling with impact against the floor or anything like that, muscle is a protector, and it's going to improve your posture and your daily life. And for the everyday person, extra lean muscle is going to be one of the biggest predictors of staying active, independent, and healthy into later life. And on the sake of the first point I mentioned there, these transformations, they're not just fat loss. They're not just calorie deficit. It's keeping and building muscle, which makes the results look this good. That causes the fat to go, but the shape to remain, or the shape to even be built on. So this is Lyndon here, the first one. That was about 10 weeks. And then we got Andy in the middle one and the end one there. But it makes a heck of a lot of difference. All of these guys were in a fat loss phase, but the muscle and the intent around building muscle is what makes it look so good. So the 4 pillars of building muscle. Building muscle is very simple. I'm going to run you through the 4 steps. So number 1 is the stimulus, okay? Which is training. Growth, any kind of growth in life starts with a challenge. The same applies to building muscle. So very simply, on a certain exercise in a certain muscle group, doing more than before via progressive overload triggers change. I don't need to go into progressive overload. You guys know what that is. You're actively doing it. I've got another video on it. But very simply, more reps, more sets, or more weight, or better form, or more controlled form. But any kind of improvement, any kind of extra engagement, that triggers change. But that's not the growth. That's just the spark. Pillar 2 of building muscle is the recovery. This is your rest and your sleep. Muscles repair when you rest, not when you train. So recovery is as important as your training. Recover as hard as you train because it's an essential part. Without the right sleep, muscle isn't going to rebuild effectively. So you can see training as the demolition of the actual muscle, breaking down the old one, and then the recovery is the construction of it. And the quality of the recovery impacts the construction. Now, recovery needs raw materials, right? You can construct, but with what? This is your protein. Protein builds tissue. It's the raw material for repair. So just like on a fat loss phase, protein is very filling and it helps you get lean. It's in your interest to continue eating loads of it, or maybe more of it than you already are, because it's going to help with the muscle growth side of things as well. Protein literally builds tissue. So the more protein you're getting in, the more effective the muscle growth is going to be. And someone might ask me a question here at the end. Does it matter when I should be having protein? Should I eat it before and after my workouts? Unless you're trying to optimize 0.0001% and you're a bodybuilder, maybe you want a bit of protein before, a bit after you train, but really it doesn't matter. Just get that daily intake locked in and you're going to see really awesome results. Basically, focus more on just getting the protein in, the total number, rather than the frequency of meals and stuff like that. So pillar 4 is the adaptation. So just to recap, we've done the stimulus, we've done the recovery, we've done the materials to do the recovery, and this is the adaptation, which is essentially the payoff. Okay? And this is the body's response to repeated challenge. Muscles grow stronger, leaner, and more resilient. And this only happens when training, recovery, and nutrition are aligned. So what goes on here is through the stimulus, the first pillar, you break down the muscle. Or, to put it in a different way, you send a signal to the brain saying, we're under a new stimulus that we haven't been before, and we're going to need more muscle here, brain, right? You're sending the signal because you're putting yourself in that situation. Then you do the recovery where the construction begins, and you eat protein, which is the raw material to do the construction, and then as a result, you adapt, and you have the new, stronger muscle. All right? And in fat loss, like I said, adaptation, this phase, isn't just weight loss, but it's a leaner, defined look that you get with it. So one more time, the cycle, the stimulus, which is your training, the recovery, the nutrition, which is the raw materials, and then as a result, you have this adapted, bigger muscle, and then you repeat. If you miss one step, you don't get the growth you're after. So very much building a stronger muscle, let's say a bicep, is like building a stronger house. The stimulus in training is the demolition team, which is breaking down your smaller house. The recovery part of the pillar is the builders. The nutrition is the bricks that the builders use. And the adaptation is the bigger finished house that can withstand more pressure. Okay, and that's all we're doing when we're building muscle. If you're trying to build your glutes, that's what's going on. If you're trying to build your biceps, that's what's going on. Shoulders, chest, etc. Common mistakes. Common mistakes are training hard so regularly and neglecting rest. Okay, rest is a key pillar. Rest is where muscle growth occurs. So if you're not sleeping very well, you're not going to be progressing in the gym because that pillar is going to be fallen. Like I said, any of these pillars lacking, you're not going to progress at a frequent rate. So if recovery is dog shit, you're not going to see the results from, even if you're doing the right stimulus, the right progressive overload, the right nutrition, high protein and stuff like that. If you're not recovering, it's going to collapse. And then it will eventually affect the stimulus, right? Because you're not recovering, you're not building new muscle tissue. You won't be able to set a new stimulus. You won't be able to push harder than you did previously. So you need a combination of all of these things to build muscle. Skipping protein, no rebuild, absolutely. Although I don't think any of you guys have a problem with protein, especially because you're trying to lose weight at the same time. And expecting results super quickly as well. That's another common mistake. Building muscle takes time. So really the fat loss link here is weight loss without muscle for a guy just makes you skinny. And for a girl, it makes you smaller, but you're still soft. Whereas fat loss with muscle gives you that lean, defined, confident look. And it also gives you lifelong better health scores and sets you up for a more active lifestyle. Muscle makes fat loss look good, feel good, and last. So, recap. How do I move myself? Oh. Okay, I can't move myself. Okay. The stimulus is the spark, which is your training. The recovery is the rebuild. The nutrition is the materials that are used for that. And the adaptation is the payoff. Muscles don't grow in the gym. They grow when you challenge. So when you train with intent, very key. When you recover, and then when you fuel appropriately. There's any specific area you're looking to grow in terms of muscle, you repeat this process, you see the result you're after. Because you're creating the need for it in terms of sending the brain the signal. You're recovering to allow the construction to start. You're getting the protein in, which is the raw materials. And then the body adapts to allow you to withstand being in that pressure again. Because that's all the brain knows, right? It doesn't know you're going to the gym lifting dumbbells. It knows that the body is pressing under load and it wants to ensure you survive. So it's going to send that signal. But nothing will happen unless the rest of it is dialed in. So really, consider one action you can take this week that is going to increase the rate at which muscle goes on. I'll tell you right now, everyone in here, there's guys and girls in this call, you can all benefit from putting on more muscle. You're going to look better, you're going to feel better. No, if you're a girl, it's not going to make you bulky. That's only going to happen if you whack your calories up and you intentionally gain weight. If you're still losing weight, if you're losing fat and gaining muscle, you're actually going to look thinner and slimmer and more toned. So what is one action you feel you can take this week to improve this process? Whether it's adding 20 grams more protein daily, whether it's 7 or 8 hours sleep, whether it's increasing a lift by a rep or 2 rep over your sets. What I mean by that, because people sometimes ask me in terms of increasing reps, let's say you do 3 sets of 10 reps on barbell curls, and then next week you do 3 sets of 10 reps on 2 of the sets, and then 1 set you get 11 reps. That's a 1 rep increase over your 3 sets. That's still an improvement on last week because you've done 31 reps over 3 sets rather than 30 reps. Assuming rest times are constant, you've improved a variable. Okay? You can also increase the weight by a little bit. Use those small plates, they'll be your best friend in just nudging up the weight without you even realizing, especially on your compound movements. So think about what one action is you can take away this week and implement to increase the rate of muscle growth. And just within the program, I do train with you guys as well. And if you want to do that, free of charge, being inside my program, message me, I'll drop you an address and we can hit a session together. I've trained with quite a lot of you guys, I've met quite a few of you, plenty of new faces in the program these past couple of months. So hit me up, might be quite far, you can tell my accent doesn't lie, like I'm from the southern part, so if you're speaking, got a bit of a dodgy accent and you're from up north, then it might be a bit far, but that's also part of it. You can train with me, we can hit a session together, we can push for some PBs, and we can see where you're at. So message me personally if you want to come and train with me in person.